My lords, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome back to Transport Fever 2, and here we are, you join me today in Barton in the Beans as we watch one of our local services just pull into the station here to drop off hopefully what was a full load of people and pick up, well, what will be a full load of passengers to take into Herne Bay. Now, I've done some experimentation with Barton in the Beans because, as we can see and as we saw in the previous episode, we were getting quite high demand at our train station, perhaps artificially so, which kind of indicated the pleb magneteers were perhaps not set up as correctly as they should be, or as efficiently as they should be. I mean, while it's going to generate us a lot of money because we have no shortage of passengers to run on this line, it's not what we were hoping to achieve. We weren't doing this to use as a magic money cheat, so to speak. It was just to add a bit of scenery and detailing to the map. So what I've done between episodes as a test is I've put down some more pleb magneteers in the various shops and commercial buildings that we have here in Barton, and the idea being they're set to a commercial magneteer, so hopefully the people of Barton, they will actually use Barton themselves for their shopping and commercial purposes rather than using the train to go into Herne Bay, which is I think what has caused this initial huge swell of demand on this line. So what we're going to do, we're going to leave it in the background, see how it performs. We might have to make further tweaks as we progress, but that's okay. I've also got plans to expand the city, or the village of Barton, with some more buildings, and we'll have to balance out how we do that and whether or not we have them generate and attract the citizens, or whether they're sitting in the background as idle eye candy. I also want to mention as we get started, I have gone ahead and set up a Discord server if anybody would be interested in that. I will include the link in the description of this video and all future videos hereafter. And I've also taken the liberty of setting up a Patreon page as well, should anybody wish to show their support through that means. Then again, that will be linked in the description down below. The perks as are at the moment are subject to change. Nothing will be removed, I shouldn't think. However, I may add extra perks for the various levels as we go forwards and as we become settled and accustomed to that side of things. So let's get started then, shall we? That's enough of an introduction today. We're in 1932, September the 1st, and what we got planned for today? Well, what I'd like to do is perhaps set up a line that runs into Long Eaton from Barton. We already have some spare platforms in Long Eaton should we choose to use those ones. And we already have this track here that does head towards Barton. At the moment it is all single track, as we can see, so I would have to do some work double tracking it in parts, and obviously we need a connection point from around here down into here as well, because at the minute it's just kind of routing you into the city of Herne Bay, whereas we want to route into Barton on the Beans. So there, that's what we'll do first of all, and if we get a chance afterwards, I'd like to go back to setting up some freight lines. So let's make a start first of all in Barton and getting a second line set up heading into Long Eaton. So what we're going to do then is a couple of extra tracks, and we also then want some platforms. We want the red trim. Do we want a waiting room? Well, let's have a waiting room there. And the other platform will just be an empty, so to speak, platform. We need the underpass as well, which I do believe is here. Yes, here we go. And again, we want the red trim here, just like that. And we'll put a station roof over the top of this platform. And shall we have it over the top of both sides? Yeah, let's also give them a bit of cover from the elements as well, shall we? So there we go, we've got a platform ready. What we need to do now is make sure it connects into our network nicely. So what we shall do is, I think we'll just merge in here. We've got a 50-mile-an-hour merge, which is more than fast enough. So this stretch of track here will remain single track. So what we can do at this point then is chuck down 2 signals, make sure they are bi-directional, there and there. And obviously we'll have this signal here controlling the trains coming into this new junction. And then we want to have a spur off at this point that heads up and connects into here somewhere. So let's have a look. If we were to just do it in one straight shot, what would it look like? Well, it's quite steep, but I think, no, that should be okay, and we can always just bring it down just a touch, but we don't do it so much that we start getting the weird overlap effects on this this switch here. So playing a balancing game there. So we'll let that train pass, and we'll pick up the corresponding point on the second set of tracks, and we'll have these run through. And I think what we'll do is, if we come parallel, we have catenary on. I didn't want to have catenary on, but I'm not going to go through and change it. We'll have a double level crossover there. Now we're not going to double track this run in its entirety. I think what we'll do is, as we approach this little wooded area here, this is where we'll bring our lines together, and we've got, well, the slowest point there is 72 miles per hour, which is more than adequate. And this will remain single tracked at this point through this little woodland, and in fact we'll have it single tracked all the way up until this side of the track. So from the crossover on the freight line all the way through the woods will be single track, and then we revert to double tracks here, as we can see. What we probably also want to do, if just for scenery, is have this line continue on there. It's not going to go anywhere, but it just makes it look a little bit more complete, although as we can see it makes that bit there look rather hideous. So maybe we'll just leave that as it is. Yeah, I mean, we could just delete that, or we could even just delete this little bit and keep it level with the tracks here. Yeah, we don't need to do that now. However, we're not having any trains running up this stretch. I just wanted to do something a little different there aesthetically, but it's not going to make or break the service, so we'll keep it as is. And we want to go into Long Eaton. Now, as I said, we do have 2 spare platforms here in Long Eaton. However, they are very, very long platforms, and we're only running short trains on this line, or we're going to be running short trains on this line. So I'm tempted to mix things up and put in some new tracks along this side here, and have this short platform just here as platform number 1. The numbers should have automatically reassigned, which they have. And then we'll use platform number 1 to head for the service that's going to be running into Barton in the Beans. And what we're going to need to do then is, these 2 are our main line. So what we want to do is have this crossover like so, and from where the switch is, just there, have it branch out and double track like so. And I know, as you can tell, we are using high-speed tracks for the outbound traffic and slow-speed tracks for the inbound, but I'm comfortable enough with that. It makes it look, visually it looks different. It makes it look different. It makes it look a bit more realistic in some respects. So we will keep that, even if it's not the most efficient way to do things. Sometimes it's nice to sacrifice a bit of efficiency to have something that looks a little bit different and just mixes up the aesthetic that you have when you're on your cab rides. So yes, this is where they'll merge back together. Now we will need this, albeit temporarily, to be a double slip switch, because otherwise our trains will not be able to get onto this line when we first purchase them and set them off from the depot. Okay, so that's done. So now we can do some signal work for all of this. So let's go ahead and get us a nice large signal in terms of the amount of light points we have on there. And we'll put a one-way signal, sorry, a two-way signal just there. And because that one's set a lot further back than our mainline trains, if we have two departing at once, the mainline trains will enter this block here prior to the local trains, and that way they should then take priority at this crossover, and our slower stopping trains, or the local services, will be the ones inclined to wait for clearance. At least in theory I think it should work okay, but until we test it we will never know. From here on out, of course, we can now revert back to our two-way signals, or sorry, our one-way signals. We've just unlocked the Junkers JU52, which is not something we're likely to see much of. Well, in fact, we won't see that on this map. If we are going to do anything with air freight or airports, it's going to be a lot later on, by which time we'll have newer aircraft available. So while it's nice to have it, it's not something we're going to turn our attention to. And we'll put a couple of signals in along here. Now we don't want any signals down here on the single track. Or could we? Yes, we could, but only if they're all heading in the one direction. For now, however, we need to concentrate on making sure all of the stretches of double track that we do have, making sure they're fully signalled up, which they almost are. This is only a short stretch over here until where we connect into the line to Herne Bay. We will need to do some signal work at this junction, of course, and we don't really mind which of the services receives priority at this junction, so we'll just leave that as is. That shouldn't block anything because we are running short trains, but just to make sure, we can remove that signal and put another one a little bit further away, just to make sure the back ends clear this switch here and don't hold anything else up that's trying to get in or out. Other than that, I think we are ready to go. I don't think there's much else we need to do. There we have our signals, we have the platforms, and we have the tracks. So let's try setting up a new line then. So we're running from Long Eaton, we're heading to Barton in the Beans. Colour scheme, let's go for this plum style colour here. And you're doing all fine here, and you're doing fine there, and yep, you've gone into that new platform number 1, which is what we wanted. Wonderful, yep, there's no complaints about that. Are you using the separate platform here? Yes, you are, so we can go ahead and give it a line name. So this will be RPL, and this will be Long Eaton Barton. We could go for the full name, Barton in the Beans, but Barton is more than enough. We know what Barton is. Okay, so now we can actually purchase the trains to run this line. And in terms of locos, we've got nothing new. Do we want to go back to the BR75.4 BAD6C, which is what we're using on the line to Herne Bay, or shall we mix things up and go for the A35 instead? Obviously, it is more expensive to run and to purchase, but just to have different style locomotives running on the line, even though I know we do have these on some of our freight lines, I think I'm quite tempted to go with the A35 for this line. And in terms of passenger wagons, let's go for the higher capacity on these ones. Let's go for the Donna Bouche. And how many trains do we want? We'll go for 2. We have 2 going into Long Eaton, so we may as well, sorry, 2 going into Herne Bay, so we'll go for 2 into Long Eaton as well. And these should be able to find their way without any dramas. Seems like it, so brilliant. They'll start now running this line and hopefully picking up some passengers over here. As we can see, this is a sort of thing I was hoping for. Maybe a couple more, of course. We only have 8 at the minute. If we can get around about... We don't want any more than, say, 40 waiting. This is meant to be a quiet station. Out in the countryside, out in the sticks. That isn't used very often. So yeah, if we can keep the numbers around about this, maybe a little bit more, that's a lot better. So it looks like the changes we made to the pleb magneteer between episodes have worked. And we can actually see some of the residents of Barton. They are heading to some of the shops inside of Barton, rather than all heading to the train station to do their shopping elsewhere. So that's pleasing to see. And like I said, we will do some more detailing work with this this village over time. I mean, if we could get something like a church in here, that'd be brilliant, but I've never found any church assets. I'm sure there are some. I'll have to have another look, because that would complete the look. And maybe like a playground or something like that as well, and a school building. And at this point we are quite, you know, we're straying into the territory of city skylines, but yeah, anything we can do to add into this just to complete the look, then we will look into it. So that's that taken care of. I don't think we're going to get many passengers straight off the bat, although we do have our first over in Long Eaton. I don't think we had any in Barton. Let's just check. Oh no, we have one. We have one in Barton as well. And I did say I'd like to look into doing some freight work again, and that holds true. And what I'd like to do is start hooking up into this factory here to start the machinery production. We have our eastern freight corridor right here, so we already have a line that does run reasonably close to the machinery factory. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a station down here, and I may even just slightly redo this track. So rather than having a line that branches off and then comes back in, the whole freight line runs through the station, through the middle of the station on some pass-through tracks. So all of the traffic, whether it's stopping or not, will be coming through the station. So to make a start, let's go ahead, go over to the buildings, cargo station. How many tracks do we want? Well, we want one to bring in the supply of planks. We want a second one to bring in the supply of steel. And then we also need to get the machinery out. Now, Herne Bay we can handle with trucks. Axbridge is possibly a little too far to use road transportation. So we'll need 3 platforms for the outflowing goods. So that's 2 coming in, and then 3 heading out, so that's 5. We need at least 5, and then as I said, we may want to look at having some pass-through tracks as well. Now what I'm tempted to do is, rather than just do it by default and then stick the pass-through tracks on the outer edge of this station, is do something a little different. And we'll do this first of all. So obviously these, well, not necessarily so, but chances are these 2 here will serve handling the incoming raw materials. So if we position our station about there, that's probably too far away to connect automatically, so if we have to have a little shunting service between the factory and the station, then so be it. And at this point, in fact, better idea, just so we don't have a dead platform here, if this was where we're going to put our pass-through tracks, let's go ahead and remove that platform, maintaining this track in position, and this track then will be where the non-stopping traffic will pass straight through, and then this track will serve a platform like so. Where is the freight platform? There it is. Sort of like this. So that's 2 for the incoming raw materials, and then we want another 2, say, going to Long Eaton and to Epping. It doesn't really matter which cities, but yeah, 2 for at least 2 other cities that we have. And then we want another strip of platform down the edge, like so. And then on the outer edge of this new platform we are currently placing, we'll have another strip of track which will serve the third city, let's say Axbridge, like so. And then what we want to do is, first of all, let's just quickly pause it while we rework all of this. So let's remove this entire track here, maybe even that bit as well, yes. And what we want to do here is, using the track laying tool with catenary, is have this line connect into that track there. Okay, that's bowing out to come back in, which we don't want. So what we may have to do is just rework this road and bridge as well while we're here, but that's okay. And take this back even farther. And then come in. Where are you? Make sure we get the right one. That's a lot nicer, a lot more pleasant. We're not kicking out to kick back in unnecessarily. And then you will come in there like that. That's all good. And where is our track here? We want you to come in there. And how does that look? Well, that looks a-okay. And then you will go in there. So that will stop the existing lines from complaining. They can now get where they need to go without any hassle. We did have to remove a couple of blocks when we did that, so let's just make sure we replace those. So we'll have a block there, and let's put one more block about here, like so. Yep, perfect. Before we go any further, well, we can unpause it again. What we'll also do is just smooth off some of that there from where we've had to relay our tracks. There we go. And that looks all nice and smooth and a gradual gradient. Perfect. Okay then, so we're gonna have, as I said, this platform here will handle the incoming planks. So let's give ourselves a bit of a run off here. And we'll do the same here, because we want somewhere where the incoming planks train can wait out of the way and not risk blocking everything else in. We're not going to have any more than two trains, I should say, delivering the planks, so we don't need this to be unnecessarily long. Yeah, so if we go to that sort of length, and in fact we can measure it, can't we? If we run some track there, we can see 186 meters. Now I can see our trains being a lot longer than that. Okay. Well, in that case, we'll not bother with that. Instead, what we shall do is you shall continue down here, and we'll have it connect in just after that signal, because then the signal can control access into here as well. But what we will do is the train, as it's departing, we will have it cross straight over like that. In fact, let's just push that back just a tiny bit, because I want enough room to get a signal in just here. So go from about there, bring you over. That's fine. So this will be the route the trains take on their way in, and then they cross over and head back down towards the sawmill from there. So we can get away with one more signal about there, and we want a two-way signal just there, and that's just to create a very small block, which again should provide, hopefully, any trains in this block with priority access crossing over this crossing point, but we'll have to see how that works in practice. Yeah, that's all fine. We know we have blocks down here already, and we might want to squeeze just the one more in somewhere about there. They should have been two-way. Sorry, they should have been one-way, not two-way. So let's just quickly change that to one way. There we go. Okay, and now what we want is, well, we'll need another platform at this station. So let's go ahead and do that, add in another platform here. There we go. We already have the platform space available, so we don't need to put the platform itself, just the track there. Let's go ahead, and can we get you to connect in here? I bet we can't. Well, we can, but it's the wrong side, so we'll leave that. And what we're going to have is a line that comes off this sort of direction. And what height are we at here? Well, we start at 104. And what height are we over here? 73. Okay, oh, I didn't mean to build that. Or delete that, or that. Just click in everything today. Let's try that again. There we go. I did remove a signal there, so we'll replace that while we are here. One way, yes. There we go. Yes, so about 74 meters, wasn't it? So we need to lose about 25 meters height, which should be doable over this distance. And in fact, let's see. Well, first of all, we'll get a sharp corner in here, 45 miles per hour. We're coming down to a stop anyway to load up, so that's no problem. And if we just let it do its own thing there, yeah, look, that's dropping off 50 meters. So, and what gradient is that? 4%. Yeah, that's fine. So what we'll do is we'll have this come in there, like that. Does that look okay? Looks okay to me. I can live with that. I can't live with that massive bridge though. So let's go ahead and use earthworks there. And hopefully now this will look okay on this bit. Does it look okay? It looks reasonable enough. That signal will have to go. It's going to cause all sorts of problems there if we leave that in position. And let's single track this a little early. If we can. Let's try it the other way. There we go. Yeah, we'll have it run into a single track a little bit ahead of this station. And we'll put a signal there which is controlling the access into the station. We'll have a two-way just there. Go back to one way now and put some blocks in on this stretch of track that we've just had to lay down. Like there and there and there, yep. So that signal there needs to go. So let's get rid of that signal. And what we want to do is have another signal here that protects the junction this way. We already have one protecting this way. And do we want to put a... No, yeah, let's put one signal. No, we'll leave that as it is. That's all fine. We'll put one more block maybe about here though. Like so. And then that should be good to go. Let's now try the road connection over at our new station. As I said, I'll be very surprised if this does generate a working connection, but we shall find out. So let's have this start heading down the hill towards the machinery factory. And where can we get our working connection point? Just there. Is it close enough? No. That's okay. If we have to use a shunting service, then so be it. Just flatten some of this out here. And where is our road tool? Yep, here we go. Let's put a road along the back here. Like that. That can connect into there. Doesn't really matter where it goes. And that one, no, it's not going to work. No, we've gone too close there, so let's just get rid of that. And at this corner, if we can select the corner, we'll have it just go down like that. Take it, no, it's not going to give us a connection, but that's okay. Let's just take off the worst of the terrain artifacts just there. Perfect. And we want a drop-off point here. And we want 3 platforms because we'll be dropping off steel, we'll be dropping off planks, and we'll be dropping or collecting for onward shipment the produced machinery. So let's have this guy sit. Let's have it a bit of a jaunty angle, shall we? Let's have it sit just there. And we'll put a second access point there. Make sure we get that connected into the street infrastructure like so. Smooth it off. Wonderful. And this will be the Herne Bay Machinery Factory. And what's that one called? Curled. That's Herne Bay East. I'm going to leave that station name for now. If anybody would like to come up with an alternative name for this station, or perhaps even request that it be named after them, please let me know in the comments below and I will do what I can. So for now it's going to remain as Herne Bay East. Take it, there's no... Nope, making sure that didn't mess everything up with the connections. It has not. And then what we want is... We need a... We don't need that or that. We need that. We'll have two platforms picking up here. Obviously that's going to be the steel and the planks. Just smooth that off once again. That this drop-off point, or this truck station, will have the same name as the station, so we'll leave it as Upper Herne Bay for now, although that is subject to change. Let's configure this and have an access road just there. Bring in a connection down to there like that. And we also want a drop-off point. And that's where the machinery will be dropped off to be loaded onto the trains. So this is just to pick up the raw materials, that's to drop off the outgoing goods. We'll want to go ahead and put down a road depot as well in this area, just to keep everything centralised and nearby. So we'll put that there. As we can see, this station here does link to everything. I don't think that should cause a problem. I don't think they can teleport, I don't think they'll get loaded up here and then teleport to there, then teleport to there. Don't think that happens. What we want is a line from there to there. Let's go ahead and get some waypoints before we finish that line, actually, because I'd like them to come in and out nicely. So let's have... What do we want to use here? Let's go for that waypoint there, so that can guide our trucks out that way. And let's have that waypoint there. Now go back to the line. So what we want them to do, they're coming in the right way, but after they've hit the machinery factory, we want them to come around there like that. Again, let's go ahead and use a couple of waypoints up here. So let's use... I don't know what we could use here. Let's go back over here. Let's just use a speed limit sign, shall we? 50 miles per hour, that'll do. Back to the line. After there, we want you to come this way out. There we go. So this will be bringing in the planks, which is that sort of colour. Let's just make sure we specify that, so only picking up planks. You'll not be bringing anything back with you. I mean, we could do that if we wanted to, but I'm not going to. Maybe we'll change it around later. And this will be the planks shunt Herne Bay machinery with a small a. There we go. So planks shunt for the Herne Bay machinery. We're not going to need many, it's only a short distance. Let's say we'll go for 4. So let's colour them to match their line, put them on said line, and then what we want to do is set up a line that's going from here, from the sawmill to Herne Bay East, platform number 1, You're working as I'd hoped you would in terms of your track assignments, which is good to see. So we want you to wait for a full load as long as it takes at the sawmill, obviously picking up the planks, and at Herne Bay East you'll not be picking anything up to drop off down here, so we can leave that as is. And this will be RC, that's rail cargo of course, and this is the planks, freight, oh no, other way around. So that will do, the Herne Bay planks freight, set that up. And now we can buy the loco for this new route. And I'm going to go for the A47 because you can really overload this. Well, not overload it, but you can really pack on the wagons on this one, as we shall see right here, and still maintain a good rating on your train. I mean, look at that, we can get to 200 capacity, 300 meter train, it's still rated as good. Very expensive, it's 26 million to do it, but we could borrow the money just to get it up and running. So we need to get to 26 million. There we go. So we'll have to repay that loan because that's going to cost us a small fortune in interest, but I'm hoping this line will be profitable and make up for that. So let's set you on that line. So you're the Herne Bay planks, right? You found your way there without any complaints, and we'll see how that performs. In the meantime, let's just head back down here. You've picked up 6 people to head to the village of Barton, and we have 37 Herne Bay, but that's fine. Those sort of numbers I can live with. Yeah, there we go. So ladies and gentlemen, I think that's where we'll end it for today, and what we'll ride on is this train here. We'll head back into Long Eaton aboard this train. And just before we do that, let's just go ahead and pause the date progression before we forget and get back on board. So there we go, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, then obviously please consider hitting that like button or subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet done so. It really does help and it's always greatly appreciated. Let me know what you'd like to see next in the series. We can continue with some of the freight work, but I'd like to get all that machinery stuff sorted out first of all, and then perhaps we'll come back and create ourselves another village somewhere on our map and get another small local service set up elsewhere as well, because that episode seems to be quite successful, so I'm glad you enjoyed it. But yeah, there we are. So for now, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.